Thank you. Next item is the roll call.
Commissioner Brassad.
Here.
Commissioner Reinert.
Here.
Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Jepson.
Here.
Commissioner Meisner.
Here.
And everyone's here. We'll move down to item number 4, tax claims and abatements. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
The moved by Commissioner Brassad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schulte. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item number 5, consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 and purchase card claims paid for the period ending September 6, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Jepson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Any questions, issues, comments? This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item number 6 is the approval of minutes from the September 10th, 2024 County Board meeting. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jepson. Any changes anyone might have? Requests? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. Item number 7 is chair's remarks, and we have 2 today. Consider Resolution 2024-91, resolution proclaiming October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Meisner, who chairs the Anoka County Human Services Committee, to lead our conversation today. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So domestic violence sadly impacts many people in our communities, and it is a complex issue. It can often take multiple attempts for a victim to leave an abusive relationship for good. And even if they do, post-traumatic stress and injuries linger. I'm going to share a couple of recent statistics. In the United States, on average, there are nearly 20 victims of intimate violence per minute. During 1 year, this equates to more than 10 million people. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, intimate partner sexual violence, and/or intimate partner stalking. Victims of intimate partner violence lose 8 million days of paid work each year, and the cost of intimate partner violence exceeds $8.3 billion per year. And 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year. The good news is there are many ways you can show your support for this important cause during this month, like wearing purple on October 17th, displaying domestic violence awareness signs in your yard, or changing your porch lights to purple. And I'm happy to state that in Anoka County, the Government Center, as well as the Sheriff's Office, will be displaying purple lights. And so it is now my pleasure to introduce both Connie Moore from Alexandra House and Jenna Perez from the Dwelling Place. So they're gonna both come up and give presentations about their organizations and the vital resources that they offer the community. Connie, would you like to go first? Thank you.
All right, I'm Connie Moore, Executive Director for Alexandra House, and I want to thank you, Chair Gamache, and Commissioners for having me here this morning and for your ongoing commitment to our mission and the work we're doing in the community, so thank you so much. There's so many things I could talk about, and so I'm going to try and highlight. And since, Mandy, you shared some stats, I'm going to try to skip over that. And I do have a presentation here, so I might be flipping through some things here. But our mission is to empower victim survivors of domestic and sexual violence and inspire social change through education, support, and advocacy. And we do this by directly serving victim survivors of domestic and sexual violence and their children, and educating our community members so they can be a catalyst for change in the community and even, maybe even in their own families. I'm not going to go through the statistics because we did that, so that'll save some time, right? Um, In Anoka County in 2023, law enforcement responded to over 13,500 domestic-related and 810 criminal sexual conduct calls. This is just in Anoka County. In 2022, 2022, there were 24 known domestic-related homicides in Minnesota. In 2023, 40 lives were lost to domestic violence. Big increase. And now in 2024, we are at 13 domestic homicides. In the last decade, 290 Minnesotans have lost their lives to domestic violence. That's known lot, domestic homicides. So Alexandra House is a refuge and a lifeline. Our 24-hour shelter provides a safe place for individuals and their children when there is a safety risk due to domestic or sexual violence, including elder abuse and victims of sex trafficking. Leaving an abusive relationship is the most dangerous time for victim survivors, and access to a safe place is critical. Requests for shelter in 2023 at Alexandra House increased by 19%. Not only did we see an increase in requests for shelter, but advocates reported that the severity of violence had really increased in that year. They had seen a lot more significant violence and injuries. Our shelter also includes our food shelf, which is available to families leaving the shelter, but also families that we're working with in the community. Again, for our, I want to talk a little bit about our legal services. So we have legal advocates who work closely with our local law enforcement agencies and prosecutors, and we also work with Central Minnesota Legal Services and providing services to victims who are going through the civil court system and filing orders for protection or harassment restraining orders, and are able to at times access an attorney to represent them during the order for protection hearings. We experienced a 24% increase in services across the board this past year. So as you can see from the slide that I have up, we had 583 referrals we received from law enforcement, 505 victims received a lethality assessment screening. So that's when law enforcement arrive at the scene, they ask specific questions. And if that individual then may be, the victim may be screened as high risk. And of the 505 who received that assessment, 405 of those victims were screened in as high risk. And were connected to an advocate right from the scene, which is critical in getting victim survivors connected with the services. Oops, sorry. One of the things that we're really excited about this year, and we were able to get a couple of grants and some funding for, is Lioness's Pet Haven. One of the things that we know, and we've known this for a long time, is that women, victims who are leaving an abusive relationship, are not going to leave if they have to leave their pet around. 71% of women in domestic violence shelters have reported that their abuser threatened to injure or kill their pet. And nearly half of victims have chosen to stay in abusive situations rather than leave their pet behind. And as many as 25% of survivors return to their abuser because that pet is being used to get them to come back. So we're very excited about that, and we're looking at opening that service and having that service available in January of 2025. We just recently had a groundbreaking ceremony that some of you were able to attend, so we're very excited about that. No one should have to stay in an abusive relationship because of fear of losing their pet. I'm not going to go through that. Overall, annually, we impact about a little over 16,000 people annually, and that's either through our direct services, our crisis line, the work we do in local schools. We're in 6 school districts in Anoka County providing services to students, either on an individual basis, support groups, education on healthy relationships in the classrooms. And we also provide community education and professional training in the community, trying to reach as many people as possible so that they are aware of what they can do and what the issue is about and how they can respond. In Anoka County, who we serve, 66% in 2023 of our clients were from Anoka County, 17% from Hennepin County, and 8% from Ramsey County, 7% from around the state, and then we do have a small number from out of state. So primarily we're serving Anoka County families, and one of our goals and promises is that we do not turn away Anoka County families. We have a limited space since COVID because we are not combining households in one room, so we have a dormitory style situation, so we've had to limit the amount of women and kids that we can actually house in the shelter. We've had some funding for housing folks in hotels. Those funds are dwindling at this point because a lot of those were available during COVID. We do serve men as well, and so we try to save our hotel funds for housing male victims in the shelter or in the hotels. So that's an ongoing challenge. And hopefully at some point we'll be able to expand our capacity and add on some space to the shelter so that we can have more individual living units where we can house both male and female victims in our shelter, and they would have their own space. And so we'll continue to work on that as well. I think one of the things that if you talk to any of our staff, and I know in the years that I've done this work and I've been involved with Alexandra House in my current position for 23 years, but have worked in other positions within the organization over the years, it's the impact that we have on individuals' lives. And so I've got a slide up here that has some quotes from some of the folks that we've helped over the years. And one of the things one of my favorites is, and I'm going to read it, is, "My advocate helped me realize my worth. They also helped me understand that my past abuse and harassment wasn't my fault. They assured me that things will get better and there are people who will help, so I don't have to face everything alone." That's the impact that keeps us going too. And when you're doing this work as an advocate and knowing that you've made a difference in somebody's life, that you've helped them move beyond that crisis situation and start rebuilding their lives, is immeasurable. Now, Mandy already talked about the yard sign and our Purple Lights Initiative and Purple Thursday on October 17th. You can also get an Ask Me Why I Wear Purple pin from Alexandra House. You can go to our website and check that out and participate in those activities during the month of October. One of the things that we know is that at Alexandra House, without the support of our community, we would not be able to do the work that we do, whether that's financial support, volunteering, out there talking about the issue and helping us educate our community around the issues of domestic and sexual violence is key. And I want to thank Anoka County for the support, the ongoing support they've given us over the years in helping us continue to work our mission. And lastly, bouncing around here, I hope that all of you are able to come to Hope Fest this Saturday from 9 to 1 at the Anoka City Plaza. And it's a family fun, it's a family-friendly event. Dogs are welcome. So we're inviting folks to please, there's same-day registration. If you haven't registered, you can still come to the event. There's the same-day registration. So I hope people are able to attend. I know some of you will be there helping us with the event and reading the names of our silent witness exhibits. So thank you so much for your support on that and for being there.
Commissioner Meiser, you had a question?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. Thank you so much, Connie. And I know that we're going to be hearing from Jenna with the dwelling place as well. But this is such a somber, serious, issue to be talking about. But I'm so glad that we are as a county in recognizing this. And I want to say it was Alexandra House that first initiated this resolution and kind of domestic violence awareness in terms of the county. And I can't remember how long it's been going on, but
Early 90s.
Okay,
I think
yeah.
it was like 1992 when we started.
yeah.
doing that.
So again, just wanted to recognize you and your agency for initiating that back in the 90s. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Jenna?
Well, good morning. Thank you all for having me. Let's see, where are we at? There we go. My name is Jenna Perez. I'm the Executive Director of the Dwelling Place. Just stepped into the position a year ago. So unlike Connie here, I'm pretty new to the role. I was with the program prior as the Director of Programs for a little over a year. So the Dwelling Place, where abuse survivors dare to hope again. Our mission, so we are a faith-based nonprofit. We provide healing and hope to victims of domestic abuse through supportive services and a safe transitional place to call home. So we are 26 years old. We were first started with a little rented home in St. Paul behind a church and have now expanded. We own the equivalent of 10 single-family homes, all in Anoka County. Our location is confidential for the protection of our women, as are the residents' names. So I want to share a brief story of Hannah. Her real name isn't Hannah, just so you know, but we'll call her Hannah for the case of the story. So she is one of many women that have gone through our program. She was in a very abusive situation. Her husband, abuser, was in a lot of illegal activity, and she had to go in the trunk of her friend's car with her young daughter and escape state boundaries to get to the state of Minnesota. Her older son was following in her abuser's footsteps, and she said, I don't want to see this with my little girl. And she left her family, she left her home, she left all of her financial resources, and came literally with the clothes on her back and her young daughter in the trunk of a car. She showed up in Minnesota. She went to Alex's house, so thankful for shelters and our partnership. And from there, she was connected with the Dwelling Place. She applied, we accepted her, and so we're transitional housing. So she gets to come and live with us for up to 2 years. She came, and her remarks were she walked in and tears filled her eyes as she saw her own bedroom, her own bathroom, her own living room, a door with a lock on it. We had a big welcome basket for her with all her basic needs, a welcome basket for her daughter with toys and clothes, and she had a place to call home. And the fear that had followed her was finally starting to lift, and she could sleep at night. And she entered into our program. So for 6 months, she's in classes. That's 15 hours a week of classes for healing. Trauma affects your body. As Mandy mentioned, it affects your body. And so it's healing for mind, body, and spirit. So we have therapists on site. We have parenting and life skills classes, domestic violence classes, learning the red flags of abuse and how to break generational cycles. And so while mom is in programming, the kids are in programming. So our women are our residents, but our kids are our residents too, and we invest in our children. So they're in trauma-informed programming with staff that love them on site. This summer we had 26 children, so we're reeling from that. Now they're back in school and we're able to breathe a little bit, but we had a very busy summer with kiddos. And so the kids are in programming, mom's in programming, and then they get to move into phase 2. And so Hannah, she got a job at Medtronic, and she worked nights, and she worked hard. And so for 18 months, she worked, she saved, she worked on that credit score, and she graduated from our program. She was able to purchase a home in Anoka County, working nights. I mean, she is just a remarkable woman, and she broke those generational cycles of abuse for herself, for her daughter, and for her family. She was able to rescue her mom, who now lives with her as well, and we're just seeing this trajectory. So she's now involved in our alumni program. She gets to come back once a month and be a part of this sisterhood of women. Who else gets what you're going through than other women who've been in that exact same situation? And she gets to pour in. She teaches one of our life skills classes on self-defense, so she gets to come back and show these women how to defend themselves, which is pretty cool. And she's just one of hundreds of women who have graduated from our program. And as we mentioned, and as you've all heard, one of millions of women who experience domestic violence. So 1 in 3 women will be a victim of domestic abuse, 1 in 4 violent partner abuse. We, Little Dwelling Place, received 365 calls for help last year alone. That is a lot. That is 1 a day. TDP, the Dwelling Place, we regularly have a waiting list. Right now we have 14 families waiting on our list to get in. So briefly, here's what we offer. Safe transitional housing. As I mentioned, we have the equivalent of 10 single-family homes. They are duplexes. We don't disclose that usually because we want to protect our women. And so we have 40 bedrooms. And so that bedroom could be a mom and her baby. It could be a mom, and the other bedroom are her kiddos. So it kind of looks different from day in and day out. They can stay with us up to 2 years. They have a case manager for one-on-one case management. We believe in emotional, spiritual, and physical safety. And our goal is to equip women, children, and the community to prevent abuse. We're partnering with Alex House, we're partnering with others in the local community because it is a huge issue. And we can't do it alone, they can't do it, we need to partner together to work against all. We both were talking before this, we wished we didn't have to exist, right? In someday in the future, we hope we don't have to exist. But the reality is that we are needed right now, and it's a real issue. And so I just want to thank you all for your heart and for working towards this really important initiative, because there's a lot of people out there that need our help. So thank you to all of you. Thank you. We had 315 volunteers giving over 4,000 hours of volunteer work last year alone. So we couldn't do what we do without our volunteer partnership and without the help of our county and each of you. So thank you.
Thank you, Connie and Jenna, for speaking about the work that you do and for supporting victims in our community. Anyone can be a victim of domestic violence, so that's why it's so important to have community resources in place to help people if they're ever faced with this issue. As Connie mentioned, Alexander House's Hope Fest, which raises awareness about domestic and sexual violence, is Saturday, September 28th. I believe it begins at 9 a.m. at Anoka City Hall Plaza, goes from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at the door or at the event, so get more information at the website that they have, Alexander House, which is alexanderhouse.org. You can also learn more about the Dwelling Place and check out events that they have scheduled next year already on their website at tdpmn.org. As Commissioner Meisner mentioned, Anoka County will be lighting the Government Center again this year, and a few other facilities. I will be lighting in purple during the month to show our support, and we encourage everyone to join us and do the same. At this time, I'd like to offer Resolution 2024-92, proclaiming October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Anoka County, and ask my fellow commissioners to join me in support. Any comments or questions before we vote? All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you, Connie and Jenna, for coming again, and we will move on to our second item of the day. And that is to recognize October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month in Anoka County. And I'm going to ask Commissioner Jepson to tell us more.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Each year, 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in a tragedy in the United States. Nearly 21,000 babies are stillborn every single year. Worldwide, there are more than 2.6 million stillbirths every year, and it's estimated that 25% of all stillbirths in the U.S. are preventable today. And 47% of all stillbirths at 37+ weeks of pregnancy are preventative today. In 1988, U.S. President Ronald Reagan declared October as a month to recognize the unique grief of bereaved parents, to demonstrate support to the many families who had suffered such a tragic loss. The month of October provides an excellent opportunity for Anoka County to demonstrate its support in raising awareness of pregnancy and infant loss to support parents and families who are going through the unthinkable. Anoka County Public Health Nursing Group is well-versed in offering support to families who have experienced pregnancy or infant loss. When a family undergoes a pregnancy or infant loss while engaged in family home visiting services, their support doesn't end there. A public health nurse continues to provide ongoing assistance, offering emotional support and practical resources. Many of our nurses have completed specialized training in grief and loss, equipping them to better assist families during these very, very challenging times. Additionally, Anoka County Public Health Nurses collaborates with the Star Legacy Foundation to extend further support. If the foundation cannot connect with a family, they may refer them to us, providing another avenue for us to offer our support and resources. On a personal note, I have been lucky enough and blessed to be pregnant twice and to have 2 children. This really came to a head for me when I was on Blaine City Council and one of our staff members brought this month to the attention, and Blaine City Council passed a similar resolution. This can destroy families through no fault of their own, and I am proud to speak on behalf of our public health department and the nurses and the work that we do to support these families during an unimaginable time. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would like to offer Resolution 2024-93, proclaiming October as Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month in Anoka County, and ask my fellow commissioners to join me in that support.
Thank you. Commissioner, any comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you, everyone. Now we'll move on to our committee reports, and we will begin with the Management Committee and Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Management Committee was held on September 10th at 8:15 a.m. I was not present, and I would like to thank Commissioner Jepson for running that meeting in my absence. The first on the agenda is public remarks or public comment. I do not believe there was any public comment, and I did not receive any via email either, but the public is welcome to do that at any time at mandy.meisner@anokacounty.mn.gov. There is one action item. The Management Committee recommends approving the following personnel transaction. And this would be new positions under Human Services, Public Health, and Environmental Services contingent on SHIP funding effective as of today, September 24th. I do want to make note in this written agenda that it states here that I voted yes, and I was absent, so we'll change that, with one dissenting, which was Commissioner Brasted voting no. And so I'll just talk a little bit about this because it is actually different and unique for Anoka County, and so I do want to comment on that. So for the SHIP program, this is a granted program through the state. It is a statewide improvement partnership, so thus SHIP for the acronym. So for the last 9 years, this has been contracted with staff from the U of M Extension and YMCA. Now, it is unique because we are the only county that has modeled this in this way. The standard practice is that this is a county employees under the county umbrella. So I believe the reason that we did this 9 years ago is because originally when the SHIP program first rolled out, Anoka County actually denied that program altogether. The outcry from the community was that, we really should be utilizing these dollars. So this was the solution back at that time as a unique solution / compromise. So fast forward to today for 9 years, what we are doing and what this is actually doing today, this motion, is simply to standardize what is a typical practice for all other 87 counties in the state except for Anoka County. So we are just coming into alignment. I personally have had multiple conversations though, because as you can imagine, 9 years, right? Like, is this really a better solution for us or not? But after lengthy conversations with public health and Janelle, I 100% support this move, and I think this is the right time. So I also will note that in terms of funding source, this is not affecting the county levy at all. Again, this is grant funded, and both of these positions, again, will be contingent. The understanding is that this program is quite successful and beloved, and so I don't anticipate this grant going away anytime soon, but in the event that it does, we will not be having these positions or certainly reevaluating if it's going to affect Anoka County levy directly. So with that commentary, I will move that.
Commissioner Meisner has moved it. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by seconded by Commissioner Jepson. Any discussion, questions? Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to comment that I won't be supporting this because I do think that there is a cost to the county. This is grant funded, and I do agree with that. But it's often referred to when they're grant funded that it's budget neutral. When it isn't budget neutral, in that the benefits for these positions do need to be paid for out of levy. And aside from benefits, there's an HR cost. All the HR time and energy put into maintaining these positions, onboarding, everything that it takes to bring these people into the county umbrella. So with that said, there is an expense. I also feel that the problem with using our nonprofits in the past came about during COVID. And it was that period of time where the problem developed. Pre-COVID, there was no problem at all that I was made aware of. And I think going forward, I think we have some really qualified nonprofits that could handle this again. And I think delving back into that would be the right thing to do.
Actually, Commissioner
Commissioner Brassad.
Brasted was first, but yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I agree with everything Commissioner Schulte has said. And it did work for a long time. COVID kind of threw a wrench in it. And so I was hoping that we would do more research and looking for some more partnerships so that we could help nonprofits that are already doing some of this work. Sounds like the majority does not support that. I do see this as government, growing government. And so I have not changed my stance and will be voting no.
Commissioner Meiser.
Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And, you know, again, we are in disagreement of this, and that's okay. I did want to make comment, though, to Commissioner Schulte's, I guess, technical response in terms of there are tails. And of course, you're right, there's always back-end work to get these positions. But this is the obligation of the counties to facilitate, just like a lot of our work, which is mandated by the state. And then I did want to actually just read what this is about. The Statewide Improvement Partnership supports community-driven solutions to expand opportunities for active living, healthy eating, and commercial tobacco-free living, helping all people in Minnesota prevent chronic diseases, including cancer, heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. I will also make a note that as of pretty recently, mental health is also a component as part of these preventative resources. And then my opinion is too, when we have a grant and a successful program that data has shown, this is actually saving us money at the end of the day. If we can be preventing some of these things, at the end of the day, as you know, counties have to do that heavy lift for a lot of these consequences. I think that is just a win-win across the board. So thank you.
Commissioner Schulte.
Just one point of clarification. This is not a state mandate. This is an optional grant.
I do have a question because as I was looking through this and basing it on some of what Commissioner Schulte mentioned about benefits not being covered, when I look at our breakdown here and it says funding sources, grant funded, that includes budget adjustment for the current year, $0, budget adjustment for the future year, $0. So I'm kind of wondering if that is actually what if I'm reading that as zero, zero means salary and benefits in my mind, so I just want to verify. Yes.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Janelle Hubbard. I'm the Director of Public Health and Environmental Services. Thank you for this discussion. And so with the SHIP grant, the salary and benefits are covered within the SHIP funding. So there is no benefited dollar that has to come from, so we get a allotted amount, and that amount pays just like we paid the our contracted partner. They covered salary and benefits, so it will be the same thing here upon bringing that in our organization.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get some verification on that based on what I was seeing in the $0. I want to make sure we got that right. Thanks, Janelle. Commissioner Meisner and then Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I mean it. So thank you for that correction about the grant. I did misspeak. It is not mandatory. So I appreciate that. And you know, Anoka County is the 4th largest county in the state. This has always been kind of a consistent message that I have had as a commissioner to my colleagues. So this is an opportunity. It is a resource given to us on a platter. And so when we can do better, we should do better. So the whole idea of not accepting it and utilizing this is a bafflement to me, but I do appreciate the correction. Thank you.
Commissioner Schulte.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Janelle, that does cover health insurance, para, everything.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
No.
Commissioner Jepson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad,
No.
Commissioner Reiner.
Yes. And it passes 4-2. Commissioner Meisner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The last is an informational item, and this would be actually a consent item for travel requests. And this is for an employee in social services to attend the National Adult Protective Services Conference. There is no action required, but I always like to share with the public what is under informational. So with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Meisner, and we'll move to the Transportation Committee report. Commissioner Jepson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Transportation Committee met on Monday, September 16 at 1 p.m. at the Highway Department building. All committee members attended, and there was no one from the public to make comments during the public comment portion. I would like to highlight one addition to the Transportation Committee in that I wanted to welcome Rebecca Haug to the team at the Highway Department. I had the pleasure of working with Rebecca at the City of Blaine for a number of years, and so I'm thrilled that she's now with Anoka County to bring her expertise to the work that we're all doing together. We have 6 items to bring before the board this morning, and they're pretty straightforward, but there's a few interesting items. So I'm going to have Joe, the director of the county engineer, to explain a couple of them a little bit more in depth. So the first 2 items reference the same project in partnership with the City of Columbus. Anoka County is developing plans to construct improvements to Potomac Street Northeast from Lake Drive to Broadway Avenue Northeast. These improvements include paved shoulders, turn lanes, pedestrian accommodations, and associated improvements to provide for the safety of the traveling public. To facilitate the associated highway improvements for this project, the acquisition of additional right-of-way, permanent easements, and/or temporary easements are required. Construction for the project is scheduled for 2026. So, Mr. Chair, the first item is Resolution 2024 TR34, a resolution to authorize the preparation of highway right-of-way plat.
Do I have an offer of the resolution?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we're going to make a lot of people in Columbus happy with this project, and I'd like to move adoption of resolution number 2024 TR34.
The resolution has been offered. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Item number 2.
The second item pertaining to the same project is Resolution 2024 TR35, which is a resolution authorizing the acquisition of right-of-way. This portion of the project is going to be fairly complex in that it impacts 99 different parcels, but I am confident that the transportation team will, and our attorney's office will handle this like they always do, with professionalism and respect.
And do I have an offer on that resolution?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd move the board to adopt resolution number 2024 TR35 and wish good luck to staff on negotiating 99 parcels.
The resolution has been offered by Commissioner Reinert. Any discussion? Commissioner Schulte.
I should have put in for another attorney.
Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just want to make very clear to the public that's watching that these are not full takings. These are just partial, even just sometimes really little tiny strip takings along the front of property for minimal shoulders or easements.
Yeah, and there's a number of turn lanes were mentioned that would be coming up. There's not an expansion. Is there going to be an actual expansion, or is it just right turn lanes we're talking about? Is there going to be center left turn lanes? Kind of curious.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Joe McPherson, and I am the Chief Officer of Transportation and County Engineer. To your question there, it's not going to be an expansion. The plan here is we're going to have the same number of lanes, 1 lane in each direction, but we're going to add turn lanes where appropriate and then widen shoulders. So as Commissioner Reinert mentioned, I know the public's been asking for this for a long time. This is a long time coming.
And I know that recently we were redoing Verdon Street up through Andover, which is a county road very similar to this one, and turn lanes had been done a number of years ago, I believe, and then they were just being redone this time around. I did get a complaint from somebody saying, why do we have all these turn lanes on these roads? It's majority of what we're doing is for safety reasons. Could you just kind of run back quickly exactly what those safety reasons can be?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that's a great question that comes up quite frequently. Why we put them at some intersections and why not at others. A lot of it comes down to the number of households or businesses or movements that are undertaken at a given intersection. In some cases, there's a threshold that we look for. Like you said, it's a balance between safety, mobility, and making sure that we can get cars and vehicles and all of that moving through an intersection safely. So you're correct. It comes down to essentially how many traffic movements, how many turning movements are going through that intersection in a peak hour and then throughout the day. And then also if there's any sort of physical barriers at the intersection. Are there difficult sight lines? Is there something in the way? Is there a bus stop located next to that? Is there a business that is I won't call it an attractive nuisance, but it's an attractive business where you get a lot of people walking across the roadway? Sometimes that's a good spot to put turn lanes.
Commissioner Reiner.
Yeah, so there are 99 properties affected that we're going to have some acquisition on. I'd like to speak to the term takings that was used, and they're not actually takings. The overwhelming majority in these cases are negotiated settlements with property owners. And so just wanted to correct that. It sounded a little harsh that we're going to be taking property from 99 different properties.
Okay, any other comments, questions? This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye, and that passes unanimously. Item number 3.
Yeah, Joe, you might want to just stick around for a little while. This next one is an interesting one. So the next item on the agenda is the committee recommends approval of Resolution 2024 TR36. This is a resolution requesting a variance from the Minnesota rules and chapters for pedestrian trail improvements and replacement of the reinforced concrete deck over the BNSF Railway at 44th Avenue Northeast from East River Road to Main Street Northeast in the city of Fridley. So Joe, this one's fairly technical, so can you just give us a rundown of what this resolution means?
Yeah, sure, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. You are correct. This one is very technical. So backing up a little bit just for some background and rationale as to why we're requesting the variance. Anoka County benefits from county state aid highway funds that come from a variety of mechanisms. It's the vehicle registration tax, sales tax, gas tax, all of that gets put into a big pot. And then we get designated a percentage of that based on our roadway mileage, our needs. So needs are your construction costs and all of that. So that's where the funds come from. Anoka County sees approximately $20 million a year to maintain our county state aid highway system. And not all of our county roads are considered county state aid highways. Approximately 312 miles are county state aid highways. We have approximately 100 miles that are just county roads, so they have to be supported by other funding mechanisms. With that said, as noted here in this action item, Minnesota Rule 8820 is the chapter that talks about the different requirements associated with state aid dollars. And so with that, there's design requirements, just like the chairs that you're sitting on, the elevator we took this morning. Similarly, roadway engineers have standards that we must uphold and meet for a variety of reasons, safety, mobility, all of that. With that in mind, as you can see on the screen here, this bridge is in a very difficult location. It's over the what's commonly referred to as the railroad hump yard, or it's a switch yard for BNSF. Actually, one of their corporate offices is located just on the east end of this project. And with that in mind, the touchdown points for this bridge and this project are very narrow. They're very limited scope. As you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen is where the curves are that this variance is related to. And so with that in mind, our design team has done everything they can to try and meet the design standards that are in place in Chapter 8820. However, due to the limitations on the site and how narrow that property is, we can't do any better than what we're doing with this project. So what that means is, in order to utilize the county state aid highway dollars, we need to request a formal variance, go through the formal process, and if it's approved, then that'll be noted on the plan sheet that that section of the project received a variance approval, and then it can move forward. And so with the variance, there is some liability that comes back to the county. In this case, these variances are fairly minor in the fact that we're talking about horizontal curves coming up that hill from the east side of the bridge. And so traffic is moving relatively slowly there anyway, just as if they were coming into that those curves from the east side. So we have very little concern about these variance requests. The bridge has been in this situation for a number of years, over 40 years, and we've seen very little as far as crashes and safety concerns. So the liability and the concern for the county is very low, but nonetheless, in order to utilize those CSA funds, county state aid highway funds, we need to go through this process. And so I'm actually gonna switch the screen here. It's magic how that happens. I didn't even have to touch anything. So I'm gonna zoom in on these curves, and these are the ones that we're requesting the variance from. You can see how sharp these curves are in the image, and especially the one down here where the roadway ties into East River Road. So there is an updated resolution that will be provided to the board here. There is a minor change to that in the fact that as our project team has continued working with state aid to address the concerns and try and meet these requirements, there's actually 3 variances we're requesting. And simply put, 2 of the variances are related to the horizontal curve down here next to the intersection. Because this is a signalized intersection, there could potentially be through movements when the light is green for the side street. So with that in mind, the maximum curve that we can meet is a 20-mile-an-hour horizontal curve. The standard or the requirement is at a minimum 30 miles an hour. Again, this has been in place for a number of years. We've seen very little safety or crash related incidents, so we're not that worried about it. So 2 of the requests are, or 2 of the variances are related to 1, the roadway, and then 2, the multi-use trail that'll be located along the east and south side of CSA 2. So that's related to this curve. The 3rd one is related to the vertical curve for the trail. As you climb this incline to get up to the bridge to go over the switch yard here, the vertical curve doesn't meet the 30 miles an hour. It just narrowly misses it, but because of that, we need to ask for that variance as well. Again, very little concern on that, but it's something we need to go after. So a lot of detail there, but those standards are in place for a reason. We respect those, and that's part of this process. And so we don't expect any concerns going through the process. It's pretty cut and dry, as you can see here, with how narrow that section of land is. There's not much we can do.
Do I have an offer of the resolution?
I will offer that resolution.
It's been offered by Commissioner Meisner. Any other questions? Commissioner Schulte?
Mr. Chair, just as a note, I'll be abstaining on this. I've been asked by MnDOT to serve on the variance committee. And for that reason, I'm going to abstain on this vote and then discuss with the attorneys further whether or not I can discuss and vote on this at the variance committee.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Meisner?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just thank you for filling in all of that information. I mean, this bridge is very unique in terms of the size of it and the design. So I just really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
And Mr. Chair, I will add too, for the public that may be wondering how often we go after a variance request. In my time here, so over the last 7.5 years, I think we've had one other variance request, and it was related to a project in Andover. And it had to do with, again, an existing bridge over the Coon Creek, just north of our shop in Andover. So it's on Hanson Boulevard, next to where the old landfill used to be. There's a lot of physical situations there where we can't expand the bridge. The creek is sensitive, and so we left the bridge as is, and we had to go with a narrower bridge section. So we asked for a variance for a narrower bridge and pedestrian accommodation. So it was pretty cut and dry as well, but again, that was the only other variance I can think of in the time that I've been here.
Okay. Commissioner Schulte?
Mr. Chair, I did serve on that variance committee as well. And before Joe's time, the one other variance we asked for was the ability to do, and I was on the Coon Rapids City Council at that time, but Anoka County asked for the variance to allow counties to do a design build for County Road 14, back when it was State Highway 242. The first design build county highway in the state of Minnesota, and it was very successful.
Joe, just this is kind of a question I'm not sure. For the part that you're talking about that goes over the rail yard at 30 miles an hour, you're asking for the variance. When it was built, was it not set up for 30 miles an hour back, or is it just things have changed over the years?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, this was actually a present from BNSF. They actually built the bridge, constructed it, and turned it back to the county. So this is one of those presents that keeps giving back to us. They've been great partners, jokes aside. They've been a great partner on this project. There's gonna be a lot of impact to their operations, but when this was constructed, it was actually constructed under the railroad's guidelines and what their standards are. So as you can imagine, they have their own set of standards they need to meet for their operations. There's probably less foresight and thought given to how it exactly ties into the road, because 40 years ago, this was a different situation down here.
Yep, okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, this is not a roll call vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it
Abstain.
passes. Oh, thank you, sorry. And with one abstention. Item number 4.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the committee recommends approval to enter into contract C00111040. This is a memorandum of understanding with the City of Columbia Heights for the temporary placement of flock safety camera equipment within the county right-of-way to assist, to assist police officers, in Columbia Heights. For everyone's understanding, this is a request similar to others at the Sheriff's Office and then the City of Blaine to install the same type of equipment within the county right-of-way. This camera equipment will be installed on freestanding poles or approved utility infrastructure. Data collected from these systems is not Anoka County data or property, and the City of Columbia Heights is responsible for all maintenance, repair, and removal of the camera equipment according to the terms of the MOU, and therefore the city bears all costs associated with this program.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jepson. Questions? Commissioner Meisner?
Mostly just commentary. So Matt Markham, the newer chief of police for Columbia Heights, he's very appreciative and excited. I think this is right now city number 2 because Blaine was first. And I know we talked about this in the transportation committee, but the prediction is that we're going to see more cities adopt this kind of thing. The data that I have received from Matt has just, been phenomenal in terms of the efficiency and the accuracy that they can use this tool. So just comments about that. Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Brasted?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In some recent conversations that I've had with Sheriff Wise, he said that we probably need to be prepared to watch for some legislation in this next session that will is going to look at data privacy laws, who's seen what. So when we get to IG and we're looking at and talking about what we need to have on our legislative platform, this will probably need to be something that we take a watch and see approach. Just for a heads up, I just had that conversation with him yesterday, so.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item number 5.
The fifth item on the agenda for today is that the committee recommends approval to enter into contract C00111051. This is a professional services contract with Bolton and Mink for the preliminary design, environmental documentation, and final design services for intersection improvements at Trunk Highway 65 on Bunker Lake Boulevard and the associated corridor improvements in the city of Blaine and Ham Lake. As we all know far too well, this is one of the primary intersections that is needing some serious attention on Trunk Highway 65. Just last week, we saw a driver run a red light, getting hit and having her vehicle overturned. Fortunately, they were miraculously the lucky ones, and no one was injured in that accident. Specifically, this section, fondly referred to as Section 3, including improvements along 117th up to 139th Avenue in Ham Lake, was included in the overall MnDOT project and environmental linkages study. Section 2 of that study, we know, is currently in MnDOT's hands with a design build phase slated to begin in 2026. In almost every bid that a governing body makes public, best practice is to choose the lowest and most responsible bid. On the rare occasion, such as the request before us today, that is not possible. Staff from Blaine, Ham Lake, MnDOT, and Anoka County reviewed all the proposals through a qualifications-based selection method, or QBS. Proposals were evaluated for content, team, approach, and value. All proposals met the minimum requirements, but the Bolton and Mink and HDR team offered the best all-inclusive proposal based on approach, team, project delivery methods, cost, and estimated staff hours. Based upon the Bolton and Mink's background knowledge, innovative design approaches, and previous project delivery history with the US Highway 10 and 169 corridor, the Transportation Committee recommends awarding this design contract to Bolton and Mink and HDR teams. The funding source for this program includes the 2024 Met Council Regional Solicitation Capacity Federal Funding, which I was part of approving a couple months ago at our Transportation Advisory Board, CASA funds, County Transportation Tax Funds, City Municipal State Aid Streets Funds, and local funds. So, Mr. Chair, with all of that, I offer the motion to enter into contract C001105 for the design 11051 for the design contract with Bolton and Mink and HDR teams for Section 3 of Trunk Highway 65.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jepson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brassad. Questions, comments? Commissioner Brassad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so Joe, do you just want to update the public where we are on the funding? Because people are asking, okay, when is this going to be done? You know, we've kind of got somewhat of a timeline for 99th, 105th, 109th, 117th. But, you know, do you just want to let people know? It sounds like we're about a quarter of the way there for allocated funding.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, yep, absolutely. So at this point, as Commissioner Jepson had mentioned, we were successful in securing $10 million through the Regional Solicitation Strategic Capacity subcategory. And so that's for larger projects like this, where you're improving capacity and mobility at an intersection or roadway. We are also actively pursuing other mechanisms, so other competitive federal funds, such as Infra Grant, which we secured for Highway 10 in the past, the RAISE Grant. There's a ton of acronyms, I won't go into all the detail, but RAISE Grant is another grant like that's competitive at the federal level. We received that for the 65 project in Blaine. So we're going to be looking at those opportunities as well. We're also going to be working with our partners at the state legislature this year to go after, hopefully there's a potential bonding bill in 2025. So we're hopeful that this project will be named on there. But as you mentioned, Commissioner Brostad, right now we're sitting at $10 million in construction funds for this project. Currently, it's estimated to be somewhere between $37 and $42 million. Once we get further into design, we'll have a firmer number on that. But right now, our planning level estimate is 37 to 42 million. So approximately a quarter of the funds for construction have been secured.
Thank you.
And in regards to the delivery year, the funds that Met Council has awarded to us, those are either $28 or $29. So construction would start in one of those 2 years. So.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item number 6.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The final action item for the Transportation Committee's agenda is the committee recommends approval to enter into contract C00111082 in the amount of $80,000 with BNSF Railway Company to repair the railroad crossing surface at 237th Avenue Northeast in the city of Bethel. Similar to the agenda item we approved in the city of Coon Rapids a number of weeks ago, this rail crossing is in rough condition and needs to be repaired. BNSF will perform all work directly associated with the railroad infrastructure, while Anoka County will perform all the work associated with the roadway and adjacent bike ped infrastructure. The proposed work is scheduled for the week of October 7, and costs associated with this work will be funded by the county transportation tax.
Do I have an offer? Or excuse me, a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Brastad. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Jepson. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brastad,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Commissioner Jepson, anything in informational items?
Yes, just two minor informational items that were discussed at the Transportation Committee, but they were for informational purposes only. And the first was for the county engineer to negotiate a JPA with the city of Fridley for pedestrian trail improvements on 44th Avenue from East River Road to Main Street for the replacement of the reinforced concrete deck over the BNSF Railway in the city of Fridley. And finally, the committee discussed a proposed amendment to the local road improvement program agreement with MnDOT for the environmental analysis, preliminary engineering, and final design services associated with the Ramsey Gateway project. And with that, Mr. Chair, that ends my Transportation Committee report.
Thank you, Commissioner Jepson. We'll move down to the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee. Chair report, Commissioner Reinert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just got one item for you this morning from the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee. It is a cleaning contract for the Blaine Human Services Building and our libraries. And so it's an amount of $191,162.60. It's for 1 year, with an option to renew for 4 additional 12-month periods, but we'll have to come back for a vote on each one of those years. I do have some questions about this, since we did not have an actual committee meeting. I just want to ask a couple questions about it. So I'm looking at the Blaine Human Services Building, quite a large building. It was 4 stories high, and it's $91,000 for the year for that building. But then we've got, various libraries. One library is $9,000 a year, but we've got 2 others that are $43,000 and $41,000. I'm just kind of wondering, as far as just the dynamic of $1,000 for a very large building, and then about half that for a couple of our libraries. How is it figured?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Andrew Dykstra, Director of Facilities Management Construction. So, Commissioner Reinert, it's all based on, like you mentioned, the different square footages. So, where Blaine Human Services Center might be 130,000 square feet, and then you've got a building like St. Francis with just minimal square footage. And then at a couple of the different libraries, there's a couple of different services that might be needed there versus at all of the different buildings. And so I think that's what you're seeing in terms of, the costs associated with each building. And when you look at the overall bottom line, you can see that this particular bid is significantly lower than any of the others. And these folks are the incumbent. So they've done this over the last 5 years, and they do good work. So recommending we move that forward.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and when we went out for a request for proposal, there were 4 companies that came in. I noticed the highest one here was 342,000. So
Yep.
there's money to be made in the cleaning business, apparently.
Yes.
Okay, so with that, thank you for your answers. With that, I will move approval then and move the board to approve contract number C00110448 with Perfection Plus.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reinert, seconded by Commissioner Jepson. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Meisner?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just one quick question in terms of the timing. So this contract actually starts January 1st of 2025?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, yes, January 1st.
Okay, are we early in even discussing this, or is it just me?
So the current contract expires December 31st. So I wanted to make sure that we got this in front of you before waiting till the last minute possible
Yeah.
to get this approved.
Yeah, and it is almost October. Okay, that was my only question.
All right,
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. That's, anything else,
Nope,
Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, that completes my report for
All
today.
right, thank you. We'll move on to the Human Services Committee report. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Human Services Committee, we met on September 17th in this building. There was no public comment in person, and there was none via email, but anyone may do that at mandy.meisner@anokacounty.mn.gov. So the first action item is our consent agenda. There are 3 items there. The first 2 are pretty standard for medical assistance payment, as well as approving a contract that is standard. I did want to just make note of consent item number 3, which is a little bit different, and that is an adjustment for that contract. And essentially, that is because the number of eligible children has increased by 3,724 from 2024 to 2025. This is due to an increase in new enrollees to Medicaid and transition. So I just wanted to make note of that, but I will also move the full consent agenda.
We have a motion from Commissioner Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Jepson. Any questions, comments? Seeing and hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Next item.
Next action item is under Public Health and Environmental Services, Recycling and Resource Solutions Solid Waste Plan. So this is before the board to approve the solid waste plan written by Recycling and Resource Solutions. So this work is with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, also known as MPCA, to implement a solid waste plan that meets the requirements from the Metropolitan Solid Waste Management Policy Plan. These plans will guide the development and activities of solid waste and must be followed by the counties in the Twin Cities metro area. I do want to just make note that this was very extensive. This plan will run us through 2030. There's been some changes and requirements brought to our public health. And the community outreach, there's been several community outreach groups and so forth. So this is before us today to approve, and I will go ahead and move that.
We have a motion from Commissioner Meisner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jepson. Any discussion on item number 4? Hearing Commissioner Meisner.
And I'm sorry, I'm kind of repeating myself, but again, this project is really mammoth, so just appreciation around that, and that's my only comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is under Community Corrections. This is for contract C001141 with Conscious Healing Counseling for therapeutic services at the Anoka County Juvenile Center. This is before the board for approval to authorize that contract for inpatient sex offender treatment services at the Anoka County Juvenile Center. So this has been a 3-year contract with Dr. Michael O'Brien for these services. He has been the provider for quite a long time, but he is retiring. And so thus this is before us to change the contract. This new contract will have an annual cap not to exceed $216,000 per year. So I believe that a lot of times it actually does not reach that cap, but that is what the cap is. So I would like to go ahead and move this action item.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Meiser, second by Commissioner Reinert. Any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I
Commissioner
forgot, I did want to make note as well, as far as funding sources. These are combinations of state grant, county, and per diem rates increases to participating counties. However, the per diem rate is going to be very negligible for that, so just wanted to make note of that.
Very well, thank you. Anything else? Hearing nothing, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Breasted.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is under social services, approval of family homeless prevention and assistance program grant amendment and resolution number 2024-HS-11. This is for the adoption of resolution and approval of family homeless prevention and assistance program grant amendment to contract C00-10203 with Minnesota Housing to accept additional funding. So this grant is through Minnesota Housing, provides funding for supportive services and direct assistance to individuals and families at risk of homelessness or experiencing homelessness. So in May of 2024, the legislature approved an additional $8,100,000 of one-time money for this work. In the Anoka County, we recommend allocating the additional funds for adult and family preventative services and direct assistance. This would be rent as well as street outreach. I will just make a note that even though this is a very good problem to have with the increase, it is also challenging for the folks, boots on the ground, who have to provide the infrastructure to do this work. So I really appreciate that as well. And with that commentary, I will go ahead and move that.
Commissioner Meisner has offered the resolution. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Breasted.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is related to what we just passed. This is under social services, the Salvation Army amendment to contract C00-10202. And this is to approve the amendment to Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program subgrantee contract with the Salvation Army. So essentially, this is allocating and dedicating some of those increases to this type of work for the Salvation Army. And I will go ahead and move that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Meisner, seconded by Commissioner Breasted. Any discussion, questions? Commissioner Meisner.
Yeah, just a commentary. So I mentioned that part of this increase in funding also had to do with street outreach. So in Columbia Heights, the Salvation Army has, I believe, I think Quita is her name, but she has already made a huge impact on street outreach with the homeless population and just being there and meeting them where they're at and offering services. So it's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Breasted.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item number 8.
Item number 8 continues to be under social services for Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program. This is for approval of the county for Anoka County Community Social Service and Behavioral Health Department to respond to Minnesota Housing's Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program anticipated RFP to be released in the fall of 2024. So essentially, this is, Anoka County is going to be awarded $2,500,000 to fund sub-grantees of the Salvation Army, Emma B. Howell, YMCA, and Hope for Youth. Essentially, we are recommending that we are being prepared to apply for these upcoming funds. And so I will go ahead and move that as well.
Commissioner Meisner has moved this, and do I have a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Commissioner Jepson. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is under Social Services, Homework Starts with Home Grant. This is for approval of the Anoka County Community Social Service and Behavioral Health Department to apply for Minnesota Housing's Homework Starts with Home program grant. So Minnesota Housing operates a grant program called Homework Starts with Home. This is fairly new, and it's focusing on addressing homelessness and housing instability among students and their families through our school districts. So for this, this is actually an addition or a supplement of this grant. And essentially, in addition to the work that is already being done with this program, the goal is to also incorporate a child welfare social worker and to really concentrate on that aspect as well. And we are anticipating up to $1.7 million for a 4-year term with an anticipated start date of October 1st of 2025. So with that, I will go ahead and move that as well.
Commissioner Meisner has moved it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Reiner. Discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Item 10.
Item 10 is Resolution 2024-HS-12, Accepting Gifts for Human Services Program. I do want to make note that we had some last-minute corrections around this, and I think it's updated on our website now, but I'll just go ahead and speak these out loud. So this resolution is accepting the receivement of $7,675 in cash donations from 11 donor organizations, and this is for the Campership program. So the Anoka American Legion Auxiliary, they awarded $100, Centered Health Chiropractic, $100, Central Spirits Liquor Store, $500, Coon Rapids Super Senior Club, $350, Coon Rapids Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 9625, $500, Fridley Lions Club Needs Committee, $5,000, Graphics Finishing Services, $200, Midwest Best Water Sales, $200, Old Piper Inn, $500, Tech and Pack, I don't know if I pronounced that right, Incorporated, $200, and Riverside Family Dental, $25. That is an appreciation of social services, and I will go ahead and offer that resolution.
Commissioner Meisner has offered the resolution. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. Any informational items, Commissioner Meisner?
Yes, there was just one that I wanted to touch base on. Oh my goodness. Which is,
Sure. Well, while she finds that, I do want to comment that in her report is the first time I've seen the term quadrennium in print, and I really like that word. I'll be using that in the future.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you find it?
I did, yes. Thank you for that distraction. So under informational item, Dylan Workington of Community Corrections Directors did report on a service agreement with Doorstep Foundation, and they will provide culturally specific group mentoring programming in Anoka County with Dakota County as lead county contract holder. So this work has been going on for several years, but I did want to make note of that as an informational item. And with that, concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Meisner. We'll move down to the Internal Audit Committee report. Commissioner Schulte.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Internal Audit Committee met on September 17th in room 772 here in the Government Center. All committee members were present, and we came away with just some informational items for you. A couple of summary reports, one from Finance and one from Human Services and Economic Assistance and Child Support. Both reports there were very normal. No red flags were raised. Very detailed, however, as you would expect from our auditor. All other reports came back normal, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Schulte. We'll move down to the Property Records and Taxation Committee Chair report. Commissioner Schulte.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Property Records and Taxation Committee met here in the Government Center, and we have one action item for you today. And we recommend that the board adopt Resolution 2024 PRT 13, authorizing the cancellation of forfeiture. And actually, this is a chair report. We didn't meet. This is a chair report. And we're asking for the cancellation of forfeiture for PIN number 253123110085 in the city of Circle Pines.
Do I have an offer of the resolution?
I'll move it.
It's been offered by Commissioner Reiner. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Schulte. We will now move down to the Public Safety Committee Chair report. Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public safety did not meet. Similar reasons. We had a conference going on, and it was going to be hard to have a quorum. All the action items are fairly routine. So we will start with I would recommend adoption of Resolution 2024-PS04, accepting a dedicated donation from the Anoka County Agricultural Society. They have donated funds in the amount of $4,600 towards security for Anoka County Fair provided by the Sheriff's Office Reserve Unit.
And are you offering that resolution?
I'll offer that
Thank you,
resolution.
Commissioner Brasted. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. Item number 2.
Okay, and I think we should take these separately because they're all different contract numbers and different amounts.
Okay.
But I'm recommending approval and execution of the following 2025 law enforcement contracts. And these are contracts with our sheriff's office. Therefore, a term of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. The first one is with the city of Nowthen, contract number C0011052. This is in the amount of $507,974.
Do I have a motion on the City of Nowthen contract?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brasted, and I'll second it. Any discussion? Commissioner Jepson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I know that there was some conversations earlier this year or late last year regarding one of the cities having a 2-year contract and right-sizing that, correcting that. And so I'm not sure, I apologize, I can't recall if it was the city of Nowthen or one of these others, but this gets us to being consistent with a 1-year contract for each of the cities that are contracted with the sheriff.
Correct.
Great.
And it's actually the next
Okay.
city.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Brasted,
aye.
Commissioner Reiner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item B.
And B is the contract with the City of Oak Grove, contract C0011053, in the amount of $999,037. This is the one that Commissioner Jepson referred to that last year was in the middle of a 2-year contract. There was much negotiation, much conversations, and they did come to an agreement. So we're happy to see that, and I'll offer this contract, or I'll move this contract.
I'll second it. We have a motion and a second on contract for Oak Grove. Any questions? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item C.
Contract with City of East Bethel, contract number C0011069, in the amount of $1,518,528. And I'll move that.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Jepson, moved by Commissioner Brassad. Any questions for East Bethel, Commissioner Jepson?
Yeah, just a clarifying question regarding the, similar to Commissioner Reinert's comments regarding the cleaning services with the Blue and Human Services and the libraries. There's a significant difference between some of these contract amounts. So are they based on geography, population? Yes, all of the above?
Kind of all of the above. Population, number of calls, statistics. Sometimes there's councils that actually want more proactive numbers, but we do have Chief Deputy Bill Jacobson here to educate us a little bit more how this all comes to be.
Absolutely. Good morning. My name is Bill Jacobson. I serve as the Chief Deputy for the Sheriff's Office. Chair, Commissioner, yes, we do has a two-part process. Each deputy, as part of a formula, is charged a certain amount basically per hour of patrol. We try to keep our patrol segments in 12 hours because our deputies work 12-hour shifts, but it's a combination of calls for service, population, the physical size of the community. Bigger communities require more squads and more deputies to be available. And then what the city's looking for, as the commissioner mentioned, proactive patrol versus call response. We do like to have both, and if a city does get busy enough where their deputies assigned there are only responding to calls and not having time for proactive patrol, that's when we'll approach the city and ask to add a deputy so that we get that formula where they're having time to do the proactive work that the community wants from us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And it is, Commissioner Reiner.
Yeah, I was just going to comment too. I mean, to your point, like Oak Grove, they were about $1 million. They have 24 hours a day of, patrolling. Then you've got East Bethel here, 1.5 million. Well, they've got 50% more of that daily patrol at 36 hours. So it's kind of pay for service, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's one thing, as being a mayor of a city that had the sheriff's office doing a fine job, you'll notice Andover, if you look at their numbers, they're over $3 million, just because of their population, how many hours they want to cover their city. And with that population, obviously adds more issues in some cases, but it works out. Commissioner Reiner.
Well, to that point too, Lino Lakes, where I was mayor, smaller city than Andover, and they have their own police force, and I believe they're, well over 5 million now. So it does cost more to have your own police service. Some cities choose to do that, just the familiarity, I guess, and, the kind of patrol that they do, but it does cost more.
Yes, sir, it does. And if I can just comment briefly on that.
Absolutely.
I think as the sheriff's office, I think we provide an exceptional level of service at a price that really does save the taxpayers money when we can pool resources, pool deputies and squad cars and costs. If some of the cities do look, some of the cities we contract with, maybe they have looked at starting their own police department. I'm not sure on that, but as the commissioner pointed out, there is a significant cost savings in almost all circumstances when you look at contracts with us. So.
Yeah, I remember back in the early 2000s when I first was elected as mayor, we did look at that. We kind of started taking, okay, what exactly would it entail? And it didn't take long to figure out the sheriff's got a good deal for us.
Yes,
and the fact that it was great work. I worked with 3 different sheriffs at the time, over the years. So it was great to, they would always be there for you to answer the questions. Whoever was handling the area as well were always well educated and knowledgeable of what was going on in the city and what was needed. So you'd usually take a few minutes to listen and say, okay, yeah, I think we're going to agree with the sheriff. We're going to do this and increase the budget usually, but it was there because there was a reason for it. So I appreciate that. Anything else on item C for the city of East Bethel. Otherwise, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Item D.
Next, we have the contract with the City of Ham Lake, contract number C0011079, in the amount of $1,621,953. And I'll move that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brassad, seconded by Commissioner Reinert. Questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Item E.
Is the contract with the Township of Linwood, contract C0011080, in the amount of $350,000 and $350,307 for Linwoods.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the board to enter into contract number C0011080.
And do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reinert, seconded by Commissioner Jepson. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item 3.
Okay, I would recommend approval and execution of contract C0011067. It's a law enforcement services contract with the City of Blaine for a term of July 2024 through July 2025. This is to an agreement with the City of Blaine to assist us and to provide proper care for our inmate population. There are times when it is necessary to transport inmates from the jail to a hospital for care. This requires licensed deputies to escort the inmate and stay with them while they are out of the secure jail. This can create a significant workload for our staff, so this agreement with Blaine PD represents a contingency plan should it ever be necessary. And Bill, this is kind of new. Do you want to comment on this situation?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair, Commissioner. This is a new attempt at us as the Sheriff's Office to have a backup plan. Over the last few years, we have seen an increase in incarcerated persons requiring care outside of our jail facility. Depending on what their charges are and some other situations, it can require 2 deputies to guard them, but mostly just 1 deputy. There have been some instances where we're paying folks to come in on their time off. We're paying overtime or we're pulling people from other patrol areas to have this guard duty filled. We haven't had an instance yet where we were unable to fill it, but what we want to do is have a plan in place where we can rely on local police departments to maybe backfill and help us. And Blaine stepped up and said they'd be interested in trying this as a pilot program. If approved today, the next step would be bringing in some of Blaine's police officers to train with our licensed deputies who do guard details so they know kind of the function and form of how we do it. And then instead of, if we do need to use this, instead of paying our deputy to complete the guard detail, we would use a Blaine police officer if needed and pay the City of Blaine instead.
Good. Let's see, this is, do we have a motion?
I'll offer the resolution.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jepson. Do I have a second?
Second.
And seconded by Commissioner Brassad. Just a quick question for you, Bill. So this is something new. Did you reach out to all the cities, or is it just we already were working with Blaine or something?
Mr. Chair, we did. We reached out to 2 cities. We reached out to the city of Coon Rapids and the city of Blaine. We picked those 2 because they were most likely to be close enough to assist and most likely to have enough staff or extra staff that would be able to assist. So those were the 2 we selected, and we're still working with the city of Coon Rapids to maybe bring them on board as part of this pilot program as well.
Good. So you mentioned that you would have some training with our staff, with their staff. So would it would we ever have a situation where Blaine would do it themselves if they were called into it, or would they always have an Anoka County Sheriff's Department?
Mr. Chair, once we're through the training process, the expectation would be that there could be times where Blaine would be doing it on their own. We have highly experienced deputies that they do this all day, every day, so we feel like we'll be able to train up some of Blaine's police officers pretty quickly to get the hang of it.
It's an interesting concept. I appreciate the out-of-the-box thinking by the Sheriff's Department to do this, and thank Blaine for participating. Any other questions? Commissioner Meisner?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will be very curious to see the results about this pilot program, but I think it's great. And I'm so sorry, I missed the opportunity to ask questions about the last slate of contracts. So, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you want to wait until the end or right before you close out and I can ask, or what the appropriate protocol is.
I think what we'll do the vote on this, and then before we go to item 4, you can ask your
Okay,
question.
thank you.
So any other questions on the contract with the City of Blaine? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye, and that passes unanimously. Commissioner Meiser, your question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Don't go anywhere, Bill. So I think I ask this every year, so I apologize, and I never seem to remember the answer. So, for example, the slate of contracts were 5, and I believe we have a total of 8 of our 21 cities. But why aren't they all on the same time frame? It was my first question. And then, so are we going to have the last 3 then as a slate as well, or should we expect like a onesie twosie kind of thing for the last 3?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, we do see them come in at different times just because the cities some cities are far ahead of the contract negotiations and they set their budget sooner than others.
Okay.
And then some, frankly, we've seen that have been exploring other options, we believe, and then deciding to go with the sheriff's office. So I think that accounts for most of the timeline changes. There have been some challenges when it comes to budgeting on the city level, of course, and the county level. And so I think that's why some of these are maybe coming in separately or different than they have in past years. But we do negotiate them all separately. Each city is very different and they have different needs.
Right. Thank you.
Of course.
Item number 4.
If I could, Mr. Chair, just give a plug for the Sheriff's Open House tonight from 4 to 7. Bill, there's a lot of activities going on. Do you want to educate the public that's listening on what they might see if they come today?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, thank you. That's a great opportunity to talk about our open house. It does start at 4 o'clock today at the Sheriff's Office in Andover. And this is a pretty big deal for us. We see regularly a few thousand people come. And you're going to be able to see all assets of what we do. You're going to be able to see our canines at work. You're able to see some of our helicopters that help support us in our mission, including the State Patrol and some of our air ambulance services. You're going to see our SWAT team folks, our detention staff, our jail folks. You can really see everything that we do in one place. And really, the access you get is pretty unprecedented because you're going to be able to see these helicopters come in. You're going to be able to see and touch our SWAT vehicles and equipment, talk to the staff that have specialty skills in these areas. It's actually one of my favorite nights because not often do we get to see all this. Frankly, it's pretty cool equipment you get to see, but most of the time when that equipment is out in the community, I'm busy and I'm not allowed to actually sit and just look at a helicopter come in or see one of our pieces of armor in action. So we encourage everyone to come out. It's going to be a great time. I'll be there, and it goes till 7. It's free. Come on in. There's food trucks if you want to pick up lunch and stuff. So looking forward to it.
Commissioner Brassad, then Commissioner Reinert.
And one of the new events, I guess, the coloring contest, where you are taking one for the team, and whoever wins the coloring contest, Chief Deputy, will be going to lunch with them.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, yes, this is pretty exciting for me. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the coloring work that comes my way. Not my idea, but excited to jump on board and help promote this. There is no age limit noted in the bylaws that I saw, so maybe we'll get some folks, some college students that might want to have lunch with me. So we'll see how it goes, but looking forward to that as well. And we'll see if that one comes back next year based on the response we get this year. So,
Looking forward to it.
Commissioner Reinert.
I assume the gun range won't be open.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, the gun range will not be open. But we will have some of our firearms will be there on display if people want to see what they look like, and so.
Commissioner Jepson.
Yeah, thank you. Really looking forward to tonight. It's going to be a gorgeous day. I know when I went last year, parking was very concerning. Are there any tips or tricks on where people should go to park?
Yes, there are, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, come early, and there's also shuttles. There's shuttles to remote parking, so when you get there, you're gonna see signage and you're gonna see staff directing folks where to go, and we'll be using some of our sheriff's vehicles to get people in from remote parking. The problem is we get so much attention to this, and it's literally in the thousands of people that come. And our parking is limited, so we're using sort of the archery site there and a few remote spots. But there'll be shuttles, there'll be signage. Look for our staff to help direct you when you get into the area there. So
Thank you.
of course,
Yeah, it does draw a lot of people, so you might want to get there early and don't miss the canine demonstrations. That's always fascinating to watch. I'm always concerned about the people that are on the other end of the thing, but they do a good job. They know what they're doing. They're all covered and they've got everything. So the dogs are great though. It's fun.
they gave me the coloring contest or get bitten by the canine. I went with the coloring contest. So
Yep.
Good choice.
Good choice.
I agree.
All right, Commissioner Brasted, item number 4.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to items for the Attorney's Office. The first one is that I would recommend the adoption of Resolution 2024-PS05, authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance, a division of the Department of Justice Programs for pre-charge diversion in Anoka County. This is contract C00111091. This is in the amount of $89,000 and for a time period of 12 months, beginning March 9th of 2024.
And I need an offer of the resolution.
I'll offer it.
Offered by Commissioner Schulte. Questions, comments? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner Reiner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Item number 5.
And last but not least, I would recommend adoption of Resolution 2024-PS06, authorizing the acceptance of a grant from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Office of Justice Programs for prosecutor-based crime victim services in Anoka County. This is contract C0010239B. This is interesting as it goes to Victim Witness Services of the Anoka County Attorney's Office. They were notified of a grant award in the amount of $159,514 to be used to expand services for underserved populations, such as the elderly and non-English speaking crime victims for 12 months beginning October 1st, plus an additional $20,000 for additional crime victim services, which will be used by direct client assistance funds to provide financial assistance to crime victims for allowable expenses related to victimization they experience. And I'll offer that resolution.
Commissioner Brassad has offered the resolution. Do I have any other questions or comments? Seeing, hearing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner Reiner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
This passes unanimously. Yes, County Attorney.
I'd just like to thank the board for approving both of those grants and those contracts. It really enhances our office's ability to have a robust criminal justice system and to support victims and to communicate with victims and witnesses. I'd also like to thank U.S. Senators Smith and Klobuchar for their support of the pre-charge diversion program and helping us get that $89,000 grant. Anoka County has been a leader in pre-charge diversion, and it's what our law enforcement officers expect when they bring cases to us that include lower level offenses and people who maybe are having their first contact with the criminal justice system. It's an important thing to have. And I'd like to thank the Department of Public Safety for continuing to support victims of crime in Anoka County and helping us communicate with victims and witnesses. So thank you.
Thank you, County Attorney Johnson. We'll move to item number 9, which is to consider approving employment agreement with Erica Geisler and appointing Erica as the Assistant Director for License and Passport Services effective September 24th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reinert, second by Commissioner Schulte. Discussion. Hearing none. This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Welcome to Erica. Item number 10. Consider acknowledging that the county board has received a copy of the proposed City of Blaine's Tax Increment Financing, TIF, district for the following purposes. A, reviewing the proposed tax increment financing redevelopment district number 1 through 25, which is 105th Street redevelopment area East District. B, submitting comments on the tax increment financing district to the city in lieu of their traditional 30-day comment period. And Corey, do you have anything? Oh, okay, I saw you move. All right. So we actually have to take a vote on this, correct? Yes, okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jepson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Any comments? Commissioner Meisner.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. So we're voting on, because usually for TIF districts, right, we are just informed about it and we don't really have any kind of authority. So yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Meisner, we're just voting that we acknowledge that we accepted it.
Oh, I see,
That
okay.
we've seen it.
Got it, got it.
Right. So that's why if anybody has any comments or questions regarding it, they can make that, but that's what basically we're doing is receiving it. So we have a motion and a second. Anybody have any other comments or questions? Commissioner Breasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to clarify, because it was, talked about pretty recently, that this is separate from Blaine's tax abatement. The two are not connected. So the tax abatement that was passed by the county, the school district, and the city, that $12 million is separate from this TIF of over $69 million. So just so we're sure of clarifying what's what.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else have anything? Otherwise, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. That is item 10. Item 11, moving down. Consider Resolution 2024-93, resolution requesting the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority reconvey certain properties for county use. Would this be the administrator, Mr. Dickinson?
I can take this one. As part of an application to move forward with a new parking ramp along Jackson Street, one of the requirements is generally to have all your parcels in the same ownership. Basically, this is what it'll do. The application is based on Anoka County. They are owned currently by the Anoka County HRA. By doing so, you put it in that common ownership situation. And it's the simplest way to make this happen.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer the resolution.
Has been offered by Commissioner Schulte. Any questions or comments? Okay. Back to item 9. Here we go. Oh, excuse me, item 11. Okay. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. And we move on to item 12. Consider Resolution 2024-94, resolution adopting a proposed property tax levy for program year 2025. That's why Corey was moving towards the front.
There you go. So, all right, yes, Mr. Chair, hang on a sec. I don't know if this advances on its own, or, thank you, Eric. That's the magic behind it. Scene happen, so. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, my name is Corey Camp. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Anoka County. As you know, this is our preliminary levy setting that we have to do. And so I just wanted to take a couple minutes and just kind of recap where we've been over the last couple months as we've discussed this. First of all, this budget is set with the strategic priorities of Anoka County in mind, our transportation, human services, public safety, workforce, and communications. Okay, oh geez. Okay, try again, okay. Our objective, if you recall, was to, collaborate the best and develop the best strategy to meet these strategic priorities and sustainability. We were looking at an increased workforce commitment. We have needed to adjust our course to create sustainability, taking a multi-year approach and stop the deficit budgeting. And those have been our goals and our objectives as we went through this budget. So remember, if we looked at the scenario assumptions, and we'll take a quick look at those. Scenario A was no one-time dollars, kind of straight up, and we'll talk about that. Scenario B was an original presented scenario where we did do some reduction on the personnel side. Scenario C was an additional personnel cost savings of the new positions requested. And then the other scenarios included one-time money. We have some public safety aid left over, which can be used towards public safety salaries. We have the central salary pool, and we also have some asset preservation funds that could be used on one-time funds. We looked at this through 2029, kind of a multi-year kind of projection, and we assume the 2026 to 2029 uses no one-time funding, so we move towards that balanced budget approach. And this does not factor any additional bonding outside the jail project. So looking at that, these are the scenarios we took a look at, if you recall. Scenario A for the 2025 proposed budget being at the highest at 25.6, down to using all the one-time dollars, which would drop it to a 14.3. The resolution before you today focuses in on scenario E. That is, through the workshops, we had come to a conclusion that we were going to bring scenario E forward for discussion. And so today, again, sets the preliminary levy. This is the max levy. This is the max levy that you can levy. You can reduce it between now and December, but you cannot increase it. And so this is kind of the calculation in what is in your resolution. It is a gross levy of $207 million. Our gross levy includes county program aid. County program aid of $24.1 million subtracted out gives us a certified levy of $183,102,136, which would equate to that 16.86%. So our request today, if you recall looking at the scenario, this would be year one of the idea that we're moving towards the multi-year approach to get to a balanced budgeting, stop the deficit budgeting, and that's kind of where we're at today. With that, are there any questions, and where do you want to go from here?
I'll move it to Administrator Dickinson.
Just follow up a little bit to Corey's presentation. The board will certainly remember you did spend 4 days in 1 week receiving presentations from all the departments within Anoka County. Subsequent to that, 3 workshops covering things a little more in detail. First, getting the summaries of what was done with the original presentations, getting into discussions relative to multi-year budgeting and putting together scenarios with which we could get to that point of balanced budgets. The last part of it too is also identifying that relative to levy, outside of looking ahead towards some potential bonding, there is capital projects are not part or not levied for at this time. But basically, we look at the end of this. I think Corey did run a number on this. If you do look at the average home within Anoka County at about $327,000, this would be a 1-year impact of $116 additional. Now, going back through that process, Corey had identified strategic priorities. We believe your preliminary budget levy presented today is part of an effort to develop the best strategy to continue Anoka County strategic priorities of transportation, human services, public safety, workforce, and communication. This year's focus is on continuing past work of transportation, human services, and public safety, along with an increased effort towards workforce and communications. Anoka County will ultimately achieve a sustainable funding trajectory towards its strategic priorities by using multi-year budgeting, reassessing the strategic plan. That'll be something we'll do starting next year. And then seek additional and alternative funding sources as part of that process. So with that, we defer to the board.
Thank you, Administrator Dickinson. Questions for Corey or for the administrator at this point in time? Okay. Then we have before us the resolution adopting the proposed property tax levy for program year 2025. Do I have an offer of the resolution? I'll offer the resolution. It's now on the table. As indicated, Corey told you the dollar amount, $183,102,136. And if there's any other questions at this point in time, feel free. Otherwise, we'll go to a roll call vote. But any questions? Not seeing any. This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad,
Nay.
Commissioner Reinert,
Nay.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Nay.
Commissioner Jepson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
So 3-3 is a tie, and tie means it does not pass. For having Commissioner look here. Oh, just kidding. Moving on, Administrator Dickinson.
Board, with that action, basically there is no budget or no levy to certify. What would end up happening in this situation would be going back to last year's levy. That's how the law operates. To do so would put you in a serious situation in the fact that last year's budget was approved with a substantial amount of one-time funding. So with that, I would request that the board do look at this. If there is a question regarding the number that is provided in the resolution, have additional discussion. There are additional options that were provided. Corey does have those scenarios that are there. Based on the vote, I'm assuming you're not looking going up, but there is another option that's identified as going down. But I do think it's imperative upon this board to meet the theme of who the county is, respectful, innovative, and fiscally responsible, to take that action to make sure that you're providing for commitments that you did make in previous years. So with that, take it back to you for discussion, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Meisner, you had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I honestly am surprised that we are in a gridlock with this decision. So I guess my comment is, as our administrator said, that we relook at this and somebody on this board agrees to jump on this. I will also make comment that this has been significantly a struggle, I think, for everyone on this board, for everyone in staff. I have been pretty consistent in general about my philosophy or desires in terms of budget and what my definition of fiscally responsible is. These numbers are tough, and I also take responsibility that us as a board and a body have in large part, put us in this position, but we have to address it and we have to move forward. The idea of going lower would just impact a even greater challenge next year, which has kind of been our pattern and how we've gotten to today. But again, I at this point, right, I would please implore one of our county commissioners to reconsider this. And I would actually honestly want to know your reasons for voting no. I'm curious.
Thank you, Commissioner Meisner. Looking at what we're faced with again this year, as was last year, and from other aspects of as they indicated, both in Corey's presentation and in Administrator Dickinson's comments about stopping the deficit budgeting, this is what we're looking to try to do with all of the different scenarios. It's just a matter of which scenario we wanted to choose, how big we wanted to go this year compared to what it'll be in 2026 and 2027. And that still is leading us to the 2028 budget projection that we had up on the screen a little while ago, where we are starting to add in the bonding that'll be out there for the parking ramp and the jail, if those would move forward. It begins again. All of the budgets all of the different avenues that they put to us did show that by budget year 2029, we would be around 5.25%. They all kind of came down to that number. And we did go through a lot of good discussions with staff. We found out that some of the work that we have done over the last few years on the Helios project has proved beneficial. We now have fewer openings in departments because of salary issues that we were struggling with. We now are, while we still have some openings, we're not totally full, but for the most part, we're not losing people to other counties. And when I talk about losing people to other counties, I'm not just talking about losing people to Hennepin County or Ramsey County, the bigger counties. We were losing people to Isani County and other counties that are much smaller than us because they could pick and choose and be able to pay those people a little bit more than we could. And that was what we were struggling with because we were constantly in a state of hiring and then training and then losing some of those folks. So the project has worked. And it also has changed, I think, the vibe with staff. It seems like a much more positive aspect. They were talking about some of the positivity that was going on within their departments. So I think that was a big benefit and that worked. So this is part of helping to get that taken care of on this end, but it was something that was beneficial. So we moved it forward, and here we are today. So we have to make a decision that was very similar to what we did a year ago. And if I'm not mistaken, last time we did this setting, we didn't have I can't remember the exact, I know we had a big discussion in December, but the discussion was not as big and we all came to an agreement that we were going to set the top limit. Remember, this is the top limit. This means from here on out for the next, through October and November into December, this couldn't go down. It can't go up. This is the roof. This is the ceiling. So we're going to need to have that discussion. We have until September 30th when this needs to be put out there and sent off to the state. And what we can do is have some discussions as to if we want to choose another one of these levy scenarios and discuss that. But that's kind of where we are at this point in time. So I'll open up the floor to anybody that wants to make a comment as to where they think we should go from here. We do need to have at least 4 votes to pass this. The floor is open. Commissioner Jepson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the rationale in me voting yes for scenario E was to keep the asset preservation dollars available. I know that for some on the board, the priority is to buy down the bonding necessary for the Emergency Communications Center, and I feel like those asset preservation dollars would be more appropriately spent to buy that bonding down versus this levy amount down. It could be 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, but I think that's a very good way to use the cash on hand. None of these numbers are ideal. None of these numbers are preferred. However, we are in a situation where 10.88% has to be levied in order to combat the decisions already approved. And so if we look at it that way, there's only a, not only, that term is relative, but there's basically 6% increase in scenario A and 4.3% increase in scenario F. I'm willing to go to 14.3 in scenario F, but again, my preferred would have been to use some of the asset preservation dollars, cash on hand for reducing the Emergency Communications Center and that bond.
Thank you, Commissioner Jepson. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just my feedback onto Commissioner Jepson's comments. So again, we can do whatever we want. And if we go down below to the 14.3%, and even though down the line, we eventually get to a 5.25%, which is sustainable and not a deficit budget. But you'll look at 2026, and the projection today, which is going to change, is 18%. So I would ask all of us, if we're not willing to do 16% today, why would we think that in 2026, we're going to somehow be okay with an even bigger increase for this 18%? We have got to stop looking at the year in front of us as wanting to have the smallest number as a solution. This is my opinion. It is not sustainable. So with that 14.3%, we are setting the same pattern that we've had, which is why we're in this terrible financial choices to begin with. I do also have to, I know I asked any of the commissioners that voted no, but Commissioner Schulte, in every work session that we've had, right? Now, I was not at the last one, so I don't know what you said in that one, so correct me if I'm wrong, but every single budgetary work session, you have actually been the one that have said, surprisingly to me, we should be even more aggressive. So, I mean, unless there's a different reason that you voted no, I'm sincerely surprised.
Commissioner Schulte.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Meisner, there's been a lot of introspection over the last few weeks, not the least of which is I was the one who pushed for a higher levy last year so we wouldn't have to deal with this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of the machinations that went around this board last year to bring the levy down so we would have this problem this year. We wouldn't be dealing with this year if we would have went with the resolution I presented last year. That bothered me. The more I thought about that in the last few weeks, the more it bothered me.
Commissioner Meisner.
And I'm sorry, are you done? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more, so I'm not done, but I'm done for now.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember, and I also supported that concept, right? If we were looking at our future and we needed to find a plan, and it was back last year, a multi-year plan as well, you can be the most aggressive in year one, and be most aggressive in year one, and then feather that in for the rest of the years. I also supported that idea. So I understand the emotion around that of what you're talking about, but I'm a little still confused about why then you would prevent, why you would actually basically support doing what you just said you didn't want to have happen, just because you were personally offended that no one except for me supported that idea. We still have to do our job.
Commissioner Reiner. And then,
A little fact check. So government grows, on average 4 to 6% a year. And I'd like to ask Corey, because I guess what was being proposed last year was about a 15% increase in the levy. What ended up happening, I think it was 10.8. So a little more than 4% less than what was being proposed. Corey, if the levy would have been 4% more last year, would it have solved all of our problems and we'd be looking at a 4 to 6% increase this year? Because that's what was just said.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Reiner, no, that was not. It was a multi-year solve either way.
County Administrator Dickinson.
Just one comment towards looking at multi-year. One thing that we did identify is, the future years are based on worst-case scenario situations. Based on performance of the county, of how your budgets and things work, those things can get better. Other types of things that are out there is we're going to reassess your strategic plan here after the first of the year. That could change some of your trajectory items. But getting to today, I guess I would say the crucible is September 30th is looming, and a number needs to be proposed. And going back to utilizing last year's number would not be fiscally responsible and not being able to provide for the commitments that have been made through 2023 through to 2024. So again, I just put it back is, yes, we got the first year number. I do believe some of the future numbers, you can see some improvement on those. But again, it goes based on being able to have a county that performs well today. So,
Commissioner Schulte.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a brief statement that'll probably end all of this, but we brought in 70 new positions this year in a process that was a little different than we've ever done before. We used the credit card at almost every turn this year, and everybody was behind it. A few of us mentioned every time, we got to be careful. Our eyebrows are going to be lifted come levy time, come budget time. We're going to be dumbfounded. And it fell on deaf ears, mostly. And I knew this day would come where some of us would raise our eyebrows and maybe even vote against the levy, even though we spent like crazy with our credit card. Well, you can't do that. You can't spend all year long and then when it comes time for the levy, vote against it. So I'm going to change my vote. I'm going to end up voting for this because I was part of the team that used the credit card. I'm not going to be one of the people that vote against it. Even though I did vote against some of the credit card usage, I'm still going to support it in the end. Because in the end, I have to be a team player. I have to get this done. We have to look to the future. We have to balance the budget. We've got to figure out how to do this in the end. So I'm going to support Anoka County. I'm going to support our team. I hope we figure out a little stronger process that involves everybody, not just a few. And I hope we actually become a little more fiscally responsible. And I hope all board members remember every time we spend money that at the end of the year, we got to balance a budget. That the budget and the tax levy are tied together. I have a lot more to say, but I don't want this meeting to go forever, and I know other people have a lot to say as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Schulte. Commissioner Brasted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, under the board's current leadership of Chair Gamache and Vice Chair Reinert,
Here we go.
the entire budget process changed and definitely did not put the taxpayer first. Over the 8+ years, this board would start with a zero levy increase. We would then identify the increases in the fixed costs, like our labor costs, health insurance, and software contracts. After all the budget presentations were made, the board would then decide which increases we would want added to meet our current board priorities. We would discuss which capital improvements, projects to move forward with, and which new positions, if any, would be added. This year, every single request that was presented by division and departments to the board was automatically added to the proposed levy. Most of this was done without board discussion. This, with no adjustments, does sit at a proposed levy increase of that 25.6. We cannot afford this. Since January, in my opinion, which we all have the right to, the majority of this board did not live within its means and could not spend tax dollars fast enough. There was no balancing of needs versus wants whatsoever. I would like to remind you of a few of the spending decisions we were faced with. The City of Blaine's $12 million tax abatement request, which leaves the county paying $5.3 million towards artificial turf fields on land owned by the state of Minnesota. A $1 million business subsidy, which we had to chase down the benefactor to get them to sign the documents before hitting the 1-year deadline. the $200,000 debt forgiveness to Stepping Stone, which in my opinion was a perfect example of a good old boys deal, as I've seen on this board. Each of these situations was new and unique to Anoka County this year. Taxpayer dollars have never been used in these ways, and they totally lacked any fiscal responsibility. As you will recall, I did not vote in favor of any of these situations I just mentioned. I also have a huge concern over the proposal of a record number of 74 brand new positions. The price of this is coming in at $8,687,000. While yes, some of these positions are offset by grants, $5,831,000 is coming directly from county levy, which this comes out of the taxpayer pockets. All at a time when families are struggling to make ends meet. We have seen an extremely high increase in the number of families relying on our food shelves just to make ends meet. We cannot afford this. The families cannot afford this. We know that the commercial industrial property tax owners saw huge increases in their property taxes this past year. We saw the numbers skyrocket in tax court. Well, next year, they're expected to be even higher. They cannot afford this. This is another perfect example of government growing government. On top of what I see as excessive spending, we are facing $50 million in delay costs for our jail. Taxpayers elect us to represent them and put their interests first. This budget and levy proposal put personal wishes and desires first. Our taxpayers cannot afford this.
Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go back to the problem before us, and I will say part of what is built in our solution, we've heard about the 71 new positions. We have to address that and to try to accommodate our difference of opinion and philosophy for budgeting. We have staggered for hiring of 2025. So we are doing these things. We have figured out a cost savings of $500,000, $500 million for a reduced market adjustment pool because it was a true number. So the idea that we are doing some of the things that Commissioner Brasted suggested are exaggerated and only partly true. I want to also bring us back to this definition of fiscally responsible. And I want to focus on the word responsible. And I have talked about this in many work sessions. We are responsible for doing a job, which means providing services to the public, which means supporting the people who are giving out those services, which is boots on the ground. The reason that we are in this solution or this situation is because we have used over and over again one-time funding for operational costs, for staff, for things that are going to come back the next year, in addition to the cost of business of inflation, unforeseen events, the 4% I think Commissioner Reiner talked about of customary things. So we need to be responsible and do our job, even if we don't 100% like it in terms of what we are comfortable with. Fiscally responsible does not mean the cheapest. It means we need to do the hard decisions and be responsible. Thank you.
Commissioner Reiner.
Yeah, well, this is interesting. Oh my God. Commissioner Brasted. Interesting grandstanding, political grandstanding you just did with half-truths. And the paper that you brought here to read, most likely written by somebody else. So why are we in this situation right now? not the lies that were told, not a few extra positions that were hired this year. It's because of politics, but it was from very poor leadership. It was from zero levy increase, zero levy increase, zero levy increase. And this was brought to us from our county administrator at the time and pushed on us to be responsible. But it was really for political purpose to get, you know, I guess her favorites reelected, because then they could go and brag about that. Now, I had commented just earlier that on average, and it's true, government grows about 4 to 6% a year. So you can't have 0, 0, 0. But we were told we could. And then we find out that positions were being suppressed so that those numbers would make sense back then. And so year after year after year, we were told, well, this is the only amount of new positions we need. And then all of a sudden this year, 25% increase, 74, it's been talked about 70, 71. What I counted was 74 new positions. And I asked at one of our budget sessions, how can it be just all of a sudden this year, we suddenly need 74 new positions? Well, the answer is because years prior, the amount of positions that they actually needed was suppressed so we could get down to 0 and have that math make sense. So, I mean, that's the position we're in right now. And the plan that we have in front of us, and this is what I said at one of the budget work sessions, isn't a good plan. It isn't the plan for this year because people can't afford it. People have just experienced well over 20% increase in inflation. The states, new taxes, they're hurting. And so we have to come up with a different plan. We also have to dig out of a hole that was put in, that we were put in by administration.
Yeah.
I'm finishing. So anyway, the plan that we need is not to solve all the problem all at once, which is what is being attempted. We need to dig out of this hole slowly. And what my suggestion would be, go back to the drawing board, come up with a different plan for this year, and not try to solve it all in 1 year, but maybe over a 2 and more than likely 3-year period. So, I mean, that's what I'd like to have us do, you know, and end up, is just, we've gotten into this hole over a few years, and to think that you can solve it all with 1 year's huge increase, I just, you know, it's too much of a burden on the taxpayers. So, yes, solve the problem, but take 2-3 years to do it, because it took 2 to 3 years to get here.
Commissioner Schulte, then Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This plan laid out before us clearly takes 4 years to fix this plan, to fix the problem. It doesn't take 1 year or 2 years. It clearly takes 4 years to fix the problem. And the years of 0%, I will remind everybody, were very bad years economically. We had a pandemic that struck, and we had citizens that were up against the ropes. And I recall almost everyone on this board gleefully voted for 0%, including Commissioner Reinert. Had no problem voting for 0%.
As recommended by our county administrator.
Commissioner
and you, the
Reinert was
county
very
board.
good with, Commissioner Reinert's very good with math, as he tells us always. So he was able to do the math on those 0% votes. I think this is something that I would love to get down. I'd love to get this to be a much lower levy. And we've all asked staff to sharpen their pencil many times. We worked very hard to get this levy as low as we could. They worked very hard. I want to thank staff, Corey and Yvonne, for all the work they've done. They've worked really hard on this. And Jim Dickinson stepping in early, before he was actually even on duty, he stepped in to work on this. And that's doing yeoman's work, because he was still actually on duty at his previous employment when he came over here in his off hours to do the work. with a board that was not getting along and not really being able to figure out what we need to figure out. Yeah, this is far too political. Doing budgets shouldn't be political. Doing levies should not be political. But too many people make it political. I used to enjoy doing this work. It's just not fun anymore. And maybe it's not supposed to be fun. Maybe I'm supposed to feel this way when I come to board meetings. But I'd rather not. I never used to. I'm done.
Commissioner Meisner, and then Commissioner Jepson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Commissioner Schulte in terms of Commissioner Reinhardt's earlier comments. There is before us several different options for a multi-year solution, so that's kind of a moot point. And I agree with you as well, Commissioner Schulte, that we should be taking politics out and we should be trying to work together. I have on occasion see you do that, and I have on occasion see you not do that. So I hope you will join the side of working together, which today is actually not a good example of. But I do also want to clarify, Commissioner Schulte, you did state your last correction. You changed your mind. You are going to be today supporting scenario E. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner
Schulte.
Meisner, I was 100% on board before Commissioner Reinhardt made his statement. I'm now 94% on board.
And just to follow up too, as well. So, and you're right. We all voted as a majority. So the mess that we're in, the situation, the challenges, we all have to take responsibility for that. I have not voted yes for every budget for reasons that I did not think it was a sustainable decision. And at the same time, once that vote is made, I do take ownership of that. So just as well as today, we need to take ownership and work together. That's it. Thank you.
Administrator Dickinson, then Commissioner Jepson.
Board, might I suggest at this point, if there is a tide to go to approval of one of the scenarios, I would suggest that you probably do that. While I would love to present better numbers, I don't see that happening at this time. That you can present better numbers to lower this to anything lower than you see at your final one on F, which utilizes your asset preservation, which has the potential of helping you next year if things are favorable based on positive performance of the county. So with that, I turn it back to you, and I would strongly suggest that you look to move forward. And as I said in workshops, I understand when we have a situation, my focus is usually on what's next and what's the next best move. The next best move is to solve the problem. And we've identified utilizing time to our advantage, spreading it over years, so we're not doing it all at one time. So with that, I turn it back.
Okay. Commissioner Jepson, could you hold your question for 1 second? County Attorney Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. If there is a developing will or consensus of the board to reconsider the previous resolution, just the proper methodology for that under Robert's rules would be for somebody to make a motion for reconsideration of that resolution and then for it to be seconded. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jepson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not going to rehash all the comments made by my colleagues here. I do just wanted to make a couple comments regarding the spending that happened this year and in previous years. I just want the community and the public to know that we did not create these Christmas lists. We did not create this want list of all of these things we could get our hands on. We spent a lot of money on people. We spent a lot of money on staff and staff wages, and that's where the lion's share of these dollars are coming from. And I will never apologize for spending money on people. Stuff is negotiable. People are not. And for me, these salary increases, the added employees that our staff intentionally asked us for, yeah, I'm going to trust their judgment. I'm going to trust their expertise in knowing that they need help. We have 12 new staff for HR. We have 8 new staff for IT. So there is a lot of years in which those departments were not supported. I think our staff person for HR said it was intentional editing. That's pretty harsh. And a lot of the politicizing of these issues, I get it, it's gross, it's ugly, that's what we signed up for. But at the end of the day, who is really being insulted is the people in this room, is our staff. And I take very long pause with that because they should not be roped into this politicizing of our dysfunction. And I think it's unfair to them. I think it's rude to them. I think it's disrespectful to them and has no place in this room. So just a couple comments that I wanted to say. And to Commissioner Schulte, I really appreciate your comment about, having this politicized. I really don't think it should be. It serves no purpose. It spins us in wheels and gets people agitated and angry. So I really hope to not see any more of your Facebook posts regarding the egregious spending that I believe you've called it, or outrageous spending, and we can just get down to the work at hand for the job that we were elected to do.
Commissioner Reinert and then Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, just a quick comment on the multi-year solution that I talked about, and then that was stated to be already in place in front of us. Actually, if you look at the numbers, I believe they're still up on the screens. In 27 and 28, that includes bonding for a jail and a parking ramp. I believe when I asked at the last budget work session that without those bonding, it accounts for about 8%. So, I mean, we're really looking at 27 could be 0, 28 could be 3. And so it is front-loaded as far as this repair, in the first and second year here. And I would like to see a massaging of the numbers and to see that a little bit more smooth than peaks and valleys here. It was also discussed at the last budget work session about how that bonding could be done for the jail and the parking ramp, where it doesn't have to actually impact in 27, 28. It can be pushed. And so that ability then would allow us for maybe a softer landing and a more smooth trajectory here. And those are some things I think that if, the group's willing to do, we need to talk about so that we don't have peaks and valleys. Nobody likes that in government or private business.
Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just one quick note, just that Commissioner Jepson referred to a Facebook post. That was about state house spending, not county spending. And it was just specifically about spending at the State House. I think that was the post she was referring to. No. Either way, I would like to offer a resolution that brings forth scenario F at, and I don't know what the actual number would be. I'm sure the administrator has that, or Corey has that number available to them, that uses scenario F with scenario E and asset preservation. And I don't know the resolution number. I assume it would be 2024-94 in parentheses A.
Just for clarification with the county attorney, because this is a new resolution, it does not need a second, correct?
It does, because this is an amendment to an existing resolution. So the resolution that you have before you is a resolution to approve a certified property tax levy for program year 2025 in the amount of $183,102,136. And what I understand is being proposed is an amendment to that resolution.
But Mr. Chair, that failed. That resolution failed.
I understand, but if you're
He could approve that resolution inserting a new number.
Right.
As Corey, I believe, has.
That way you have the entire language, and then it's an amended resolution so that we're getting the proper language to certify that levy, that preliminary levy amount.
Okay, Corey, I think they requested a dollar amount from you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, to drop it to 14.3%, the final down below would be, the levy would be 179,102,136.
136?
Yeah, 179,102,136.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, that's the resolution I'm offering.
Okay, we have it. And just to verify then, that does not need a second.
So it does, because what I'm hearing is it's a motion to amend resolution adopting a proposed property tax levy for program year 2025. That's resolution number 2024-94. And what is being offered, because the $183 million number failed on a vote, is an amendment to that resolution adopting the proposed the proposed tax levy 94 to add or replace the 183 million with 179 million, I believe, 102.36.
102,136.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we do need a second. Do I have a second? Oh, sorry. Somebody gonna say something? Oh, thought Corey was. All right, so Commissioner Schulte has made a resolution, and you have the dollar amount in front of you. Do we have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Jepson. The issue I have, and this was the issue that we talked about in the workshop meetings, is that under the scenario F, we see a higher budget deficit possibly in 2026. Percentage could be higher. Then it begins to level off in 2027, and then of course we run into the budget years with the levy. I guess my preference would be is that we were going with E at that time, which only pulled the public safety aid in the central salary pool and left asset preservation. So I have a little bit of a problem with that. Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think we're going to have a lot of different ways to bring that 18% number down next year. I think you're going to see, well, I don't want to get into it right now, but I think there'll be a lot of different ways, a lot of different avenues where the numbers will change for next year and that number will be lower.
Well, I would, Commissioner Schulte, I would like to agree with you, but that's what I thought I was doing last time. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will not be supporting this for reasons I said originally and previously about sustainability. And then Commissioner Schulte, I just want to, you're very confusing today. I'm not going to lie. First you said no. I literally just asked you just moments ago, so you are going to be supporting the original resolution, which is scenario E. You said yes, but now you're not. You proposed something else. My last comment to you about that Facebook post, I'm sorry, I can't let it go, because you were in fact not talking about state situations. You were talking about specific colleagues. Now that's your right, so you can say whatever you want on social media, but that's not true. So I cannot let that go. But I will not be supporting what's before us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Right, so we got a motion and a second. Did anybody want to make another comment on this one? Jim, did you have anything to add?
Just basically, if this comes to a tie, we're right back to where we were.
All right, so this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Reinert,
No.
Commissioner Gamache,
Yes.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Nay.
Commissioner Brasted.
Nay.
It's a 3-3 vote. I'd like to move that we reconsider the board's first action on the previously offered resolution as the beginning resolution that we had offered today, which is the one that's before us in our packet with back to the original dollar amount that was on there. And I need a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion towards going back to the original one under scenario E? Anybody have any discussions? Commissioner Schulte, thank you.
Mr. Chair, to be the professional and the elder statesman in the room, I'll vote aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Schulte. So if there's no other discussion, roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Nay.
Commissioner Reiner.
Nay.
And that passes 4-2. Thank you, everyone, for the votes. Thank you, everyone, for your discussion. It's a difficult situation that we're in, and we're now moving forward with the preliminary, which means that we have a few more months to get some other information. So we'll see how that comes. But thank you for the comments. Item number 12, consider resolution. Wait a minute.
Yep.
Yep, okay. Make sure I'm on the right one.
Mr. Chair.
We're on 13. Right, consider resolution 2024-95, resolution adopting a proposed public safety tax levy for the program year 2025.
I'll offer the resolution.
It's been offered by Commissioner Schulte on the resolution. Corey, did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Mr. Chair, board members, this is here just to state that, remember, we do have authority to do a public safety resolution. This is related to JLEC. We are at 0 now. I know we've been talking with the JLEC board about we need to develop a CIP plan at the JLEC board for what that looks like before we levy, so we're comfortable with what that means. But this is just in front of you. I had talked to property tax and they said, yeah, you can, because last year I had to do it at 0. This year we don't, but the reason for doing it is more just to continue to keep it in front of you so we're aware. Because we did get special levy, special legislative approval, and so I just wanted to make sure that if Anoka County needs to use this for good reasons of public safety, it's something we have to keep in mind.
Mr. Chair.
County Attorney Johnson.
So I preside over the Joint Law Enforcement Council this year as its chair. Next year it will be Josh Antoine, a chief of police from Spring Lake Park. We have a rotating schedule for who chairs the Joint Law Enforcement Council. We had a lot of conversations about things that law enforcement across the county could use for a countywide benefit. As some of you who sit on the Joint Law Enforcement Council may know, there's a need across the entire county for law enforcement to update their radios. That is an enormous expense for law enforcement across the county. That is one thing that is on their mind because we want to make sure that everybody can talk to one another and can talk to one another effectively. There's also a need to protect critical infrastructure in the county, and that costs money to be able to do that. The Joint Law Enforcement Council understood that this was going to be a difficult budget year for all the communities, the cities and the counties alike, and agreed that this is an appropriate year where they would not present any capital improvement recommendation for really the reason to give you the maximum amount of flexibility in doing what you all need to do with the levy. I would hope that the public safety levy would be still reflected on property tax statements so that it's a 0, so that people can understand the decision-making that was done to save them dollars this year. It doesn't mean we're not spending money on public safety in Anoka County. It just means that we're not putting forward a special project this year to give you that flexibility and to decrease the tax load on citizens. In future years, and the county board will be part of this discussion, and the representatives, including the sheriff, we do think it is a better practice to have a long-term CIP, a capital improvement plan. And so you can expect to see the Joint Law Enforcement Council discussing how to best prioritize spending taxpayer money and saving where we can, using the buying power of the Joint Law Enforcement Council, and also protecting critical infrastructure in the county. Thank you.
Thank you, County Attorney Johnson. We have a resolution in front of us on the public safety tax levy for program year 2025. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Jepson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner Reiner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye. And that passes unanimously. Item number 14 is to consider for informational purposes. The Anoka County Board of Commissioners will hold a public meeting on December 2nd, 2024 at 6 p.m., at which the budget and levy for 2025 will be considered and at which the public will have the opportunity to speak on the 2025 proposed budget. Moving down to county appointments. Consider appointing Nathan Little, representing Hospitals Emergency Preparedness, to the Emergency Medical Services Council for the year ending December 31st, 2027. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Brasta. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Meisner. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Mr.
Oh, Commissioner Meisner.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just wanted to relay some of the comments. So this came before the Human Services Committee originally, and Janelle Hubbard, our Public Health Director, so she had so many glowing things to say about the Emergency Medical Services Council and the work that they do and the support that they give. So I did want to just carry those comments forward with this action item. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Item B, consider appointing Kathy Schultz in Nokohennepin School District and Amy Fearing, Fridley School District, to the Community Health Advisory Committee representing schools for terms ending December 31st, 2027. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jepson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. And for informational purposes, I'm appointing of Michael Johnston from Mercy Hospital and reappointing Gregory Fromm Gillis, Anoka County Economic Development Director, to the Anoka County Workforce Development Board for 2-year terms ending September 30th, 2026. And if there's nothing else, Commissioner Schulte.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I just had to correct the record for the minutes on one item. In previous years, our staff, Corey, and our previous administrator never, ever recommended a 0% levy. That was always the doing of the board. They always recommended a number higher than 0. I think the lowest I ever saw come from staff was 3%. Never saw anything lower than 3%. Might even have been higher than that. But just to clarify for the record, for the minutes.
Commissioner Reiner.
And for the record, too, I'd like to say that during those budget work sessions, I did ask Severaja if we could have a 0, and she said yes. So, I mean, obviously we didn't get all the information, so those books were a little cooked, I guess.
You're anointed, she's appointed.
Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I want to bring it back to the board agenda because you had mentioned that these appointments for workforce development were informational, but on mine, I have an action item. So I just want to make sure that it's informational, not an action item.
Well, the first thing says consider for informational purposes.
Okay. All right, well, maybe it's just on the, and then I'll just a follow-up comment. Again, I just want to reiterate what was discussed in Human Services for the Workforce Development appointee. This would be for Michael Johnston, the president of Mercy Hospital. So Alina has always been part of this Workforce Development Board, but it is unique and very exciting to actually have the president of Mercy Hospital to be part of this work. So I did want to carry on that commentary as well that was discussed in Human Services. Thank you.
Very good. That'll adjourn, and I'll adjourn the board meeting. Do we have any public